snap. There's the kick. It's gone. Oh my gosh. The kick is gone.
Boston Sports Nerds present Joe's Fantasy Field Goal.
What's up, nerds? We're back, and we're weekly. In case you didn't know, it's August 1st, and the rule in August is weekly podcasts. So, all preseason, we will be dropping a Joe's Fantasy Field Goal every Tuesday. And from here on out, actually, throughout the whole season, all preseason, all regular season, is Joe's Fantasy Field Goal every Tuesday. Heads up, during the actual fantasy football season, though, I'll probably be recording them on Mondays. With the Monday night game, getting updates on my phone or something. It's just easier that way, so I can get them out to you on Tuesday, so you guys can do your waiver wire pickups and drops and all that nonsense, so I can give you some advice on that kind of stuff. But yeah, we are weekly, and I just want to give a shout out to everyone listening, because little known fact, Joe, not to brag, but the Fantasy Field Goal is the most listened to podcast on the B.S.N podcast network as of right now. Granted, I would like to get the main podcast to be the most listened to one. So maybe we should do that. All the listeners, if for some reason you only listen to Joe's Fantasy Field Goal, hey, stop doing that. Listen to all of them. Listen to Aaron and Jerry's new podcast, WECP, for all of your wrestling, entertainment, comics needs. Listen to that. Listen to the main podcast, which should have been a given already, because to be honest, I don't know what you're doing listening to the Fantasy Field Goal if you're not listening to the main BS Nerds podcast. Listen to the main one. Listen to Dave Speaks whenever he decides to drop those. And listen to Joe's Fantasy Field Goal so that you can win. And then when you win, tweet at the nerds and tell us that you won because of Joe's Fantasy Field Goal. Also, rate and review and subscribe to BS Nerds, and tell a friend to listen to Joe's Fantasy Field Goal. I know when you find a Fantasy Field Goal podcast that you like, that you think you're getting good advice from, you don't want to tell your friends in the league that you're with, hey, I have this podcast I'm getting good advice from, because they're in the league with you, and then they get the good advice, and you lose your advantage. But if you're not in a league with one of your friends, and you want to help him with his league, shoot him a link to the podcast. It helps the podcast to keep going. The more listeners we get, the better. Build a nice community around the Fantasy Field Goal. It's just good all around. But yeah, we are weekly, and it's going to stay that way from now on. And we are in preseason, people. Thursday night, football is back. We have a preseason game. The first official preseason game, I think it is Dallas versus Arizona, if I am correct. No one is going to play in that. That matters, because no one ever plays in the Hall of Fame game that matters. But it's still going to be football on your television. Football season is back. And we have 3 points here for today. We're going to do a players to avoid in the upcoming draft. Just guys who I think are not good value where they're being drafted, and I don't think are going to have great seasons, great returns on where they're being drafted. We're going to do a rookie report, and we're just going to run down some key rookies at running back and wide receiver, and I'll tell you if my stock is rising or falling on them, or if it's staying the same. We're going to end the fantasy field goal doing another mock draft, a PPR mock draft this time, 12 team, and we're picking from the 11th pick. And I know we did a mock draft at the end of last one. We're going to do a mock draft at the end of this one. I'm thinking about doing a mock draft all through the preseason because this is draft season. And in draft season, you should mock often as possible, because it's the best practice for your actual draft. You'll learn where people are going, and odds are in your draft, people probably won't go exactly where they're going in mock drafts, but it's just good to practice. And we're going to be using Fantasy Draft Wizard like last time. It's a great resource if you want a mock draft quick and you don't have to worry about people messing up your mock drafts and taking Justin Tucker in the first round, because that happens. But let's get into the 3 points. Point number 1, players to avoid in the upcoming draft. Player number 1, I tried to do, on this list I have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, and 2 wide receivers. I tried to grab a little from all the positions. Tight end is, it's tight end, whatever. First player to avoid is Big Ben. Big Ben is being super highly drafted. Well, not super high, but he's going above other better quarterbacks in my opinion. And Big Ben is super overrated. Yes, I know Martavis Bryant is back. Also, a little tidbit on Martavis Bryant. Not completely reinstated into the NFL. Just found this out. He is partially reinstated, I guess. He can't practice with the team or participate in preseason games. But he's allowed to talk to I guess he's only partially reinstated. That just came out, I think, a couple days ago, that he's not actually fully reinstated. That's not good. Training camp is really important for quarterbacks and wide receivers to get on the same level, same page. Granted, he's played with Big Ben before, so I don't think it'll be a huge problem, but it's not a good thing. But I'm staying away from Big Ben. Big Ben has terrible home road splits. I think I've talked about this before, maybe in my quarterback rankings. I don't even know if he was in my... Big Ben's not in my top 15 quarterbacks. And he's being drafted as a top 15 quarterback. So that should tell you already to stay away from him. He has terrible home road splits. Terrible. Even worse than Drew Brees'. At home, Big Ben is great. When he plays on the road, he is a literal walking disaster. It's like he forgets how to play football. Also, I think there's a whole 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality, because he's still talking about retiring at the end of this season. There's talk about him retiring before this season. I don't know how much he actually wants to play football. I'm just out on Big Ben all around. He's really good. If he got to play all 16 games or 16 games at home, then Big Ben would be on every team I had, because he'd be a stud. But he's only going to play 8 at home. And that's if he plays a full season. Big Ben's also injury prone, as we know. So an injury prone guy with terrible home road splits who might not be fully committed and is being drafted ahead of Matt Stafford and Andy Dalton, Phillip Rivers. Why take him? It's my only question. Number 2 players to avoid is Carlos Hyde. This is mainly because I don't think he's going to be the starter. They drafted a rookie in San Francisco named Joe Williams, who, by all reports, Kyle Shanahan, the new head coach, was literally begging John Lynch, the new GM, to draft this kid, Joe Williams, begging him. He wanted him that bad. I don't think they like Carlos Hyde there, the new regime. I don't think the plan is to have him be the starting running back. And Carlos Hyde is another injury-prone guy. That's not good. So he is very likely to either get hurt in training camp or get hurt during the season and then lose his job for good because they like this Joe Williams kid so much. Maybe Joe Williams lays an egg. I don't know. I haven't seen much Joe Williams. But if the new regime if Kyle Shanahan thinks Joe Williams is going to fit into his system that well, that he was literally begging John Lynch to draft this kid, that says a lot about how he feels about Carlos Hyde and what he feels Joe Williams can provide for this team. Granted, when Carlos Hyde's on the field, he's actually a good running back. But if you're Kyle Shanahan and he doesn't fit in your system, he doesn't fit in your system. And right now it's trending towards, I think, by week 4, if he's not at the start of the season, by week 4, Joe Williams will be the starting running back for the San Francisco 49ers. My players to avoid in an upcoming draft, number 3 is Latavius Murray. This is for a lot of the same reasons that Carlos Hyde is a player to avoid. Latavius Murray is injured right now. And the Vikings spent a second-round pick on Dalvin Cook. That's not a cheap pick. That's a very high pick for a running back. They have a lot of confidence in Dalvin Cook. And right now, because Latavius Murray is hurt, Dalvin Cook is getting all of the reps. All of them. Now, Latavius Murray is going after Dalvin Cook in drafts. It's not like people are drafting Latavius Murray super high. Carlos Hyde is going before Joe Williams, I believe. So, I mean, that tells you something. And Carlos Hyde is actually going pretty early. Latavius Murray is going after Dalvin Cook. So it's like everyone knows what's going on. But I just don't think Latavius Murray is going to be worth drafting, like, barely at all. If he's missing all of this training camp time, and Dalvin Cook is just getting all of these reps, and he's looked good in camp. He's like the clear-cut number 1 running back there, obviously, because Murray can't go. I think this is going to be... And Dalvin Cook he's a 3-down back. He's going to stay on the field during for third down. And if Latavius Murray is out, he's going to be the 1 and 2 down guy. So you have a 3-down running back ahead of you. Maybe you get the goal line carries. That's the only role I could see Latavius Murray kind of carving himself out is a goal line running back role. But that's if he's healthy. And we haven't seen him healthy yet. And even if he is healthy, if Dalvin Cook is playing good, I can't imagine they're going to take him off the field just to put Latavius Murray in on the goal line. And I think your offense is more versatile anyway with Dalvin Cook back there on the goal line. So I'm staying away from Latavius Murray even later in drafts. Maybe you could take a flyer on him at the very end of the draft. But I think there might be better people to take a flyer on there. Player number 4. I'm sorry, guys. Player number 4 and 5 might be a little controversial because they're kind of pretty well-known wide receivers. Player number 4 is Alshon Jeffrey, who I'm avoiding. I like Alshon Jeffrey when he was on the Bears with Jay Cutler, who bombed the ball out, just threw it up. I don't know if I like him on a pretty conservative Eagles offense with a second-year quarterback who I think only threw like 19 touchdowns. I'll double-check that, but it's not like Carson Wentz is lighting up the stats, you know what I mean? And I Alshon has had some injury troubles. He's adapting to a new team. Yes, he'll be the clear-cut number one. He won't be suspended this year, hopefully. But he wasn't great last year. And he was overdrafted. This year, I don't know if he's being overdrafted, but he's still being drafted pretty high. And he just doesn't. I think there are better guys going around him, like Doug Baldwin and Terrell Pryor, are guys going around Alshon Jeffrey, and I think I would rather have them. If you're going to have 16 touchdowns, Carson Wentz had 16 touchdowns last year. Granted, his receiving core was awful. I know that. I just don't know what Alshon Jeffrey are we getting. You know what I mean? Are we getting the stud Alshon Jeffrey? Or are we getting the Alshon Jeffrey from last year who was banged up, who was suspended, who's had bad quarterback play then? Is his quarterback play that much better? Yes, Carson Wentz is probably better than Matt Barkley. When Brian Hoyer was there, though, he had... It might have been when he was suspended. I can't really remember. But I'm out on Alshon. I mean, if he falls to you, he falls to you. Later in the round. I just don't know if I would take him at the value he's going at right now. And number 5 is Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, I had such high hopes for Allen Robinson. He was my keeper going into last year and then completely shit the bed. Then they fired the head coach. Doug Marrone took over. And they started using... Oh, another yawn. Sorry. They started using Allen Robinson more. He started showing out a little. And I think they made some ridiculous comment like, yeah, we actually started moving him around the field instead of just always lining him up in the same spot, which seems ridiculous that an NFL head coach wasn't doing that. But now reports are coming out that, Blake Bortles is struggling in camp. And don't look in. I mean, I wouldn't look too far into these reports, but that's not a great thing after he struggled last year. And then I think Tom Coughlin came out and said he was asked how often do you want to have Blake throw the ball this year, and he said if I can, never. That's really good for the running back in Jacksonville. That's not good for the wide receivers in Jacksonville. If Blake Bortles, if they turn into a running team, it might be good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They might win a lot more games. But it's not great for Allen Robinson's fantasy value. It's not great for Blake Bortles' fantasy value if he's struggling when he is throwing the ball, and now he's not throwing the ball as much. Because Blake Bortles pretty much thrived off garbage time last year, and if they're running the ball and playing good defense, that means it's going to be less garbage time. And if his attempts are down, I don't know if his garbage time will be able to save him. So I'm staying away from... I guess you can add Blake Bortles to this list too, even though he's not really getting drafted high at all. That's the other thing about Allen Robinson. He's getting drafted really high for what he is, I think. He's still going, I think, in like the 4th or 5th round. Right around Alshon Jeffrey, I think, actually. And like I said, I would rather have those other guys. So I'm staying away from Allen Robinson and Alshon Jeffrey. We're going to move on to point 2, which is the rookie report. So I'm going to run down some rookies, and I'll tell you if my stock is rising in them or falling in them, or if it's just staying the same. Leonard Fournette, the new rookie running back for the Jaguars, for all the reasons I just talked about with Allen Robinson, my stock is rising in Leonard Fournette. They want to run the ball a lot more there. They drafted him in the first round, like pick 4. for a reason. The new head coach, the new GM, they're all committed to running the ball. They're all committed to playing good defense. They don't want to throw the ball nearly at all. Leonard Fournette's going to be out there at least for first and second down and goal line. He might come off the field on third down. That's yet to be seen for TJ Yeldon. I think he's going to have a huge year, actually. I think we might be looking at like another, I don't want to say Zeke-esque year like last year. I don't know if he'll lead the league in rushing, but I think he could finish as a top 5 running back this year. And I wouldn't be shocked by that in the slightest. Moving on to Christian McCaffrey, I wrote down I'm on Christian McCaffrey. I like him as a player a lot. I think he's going to be a really good running back. I don't know if he works well on this team I don't think he works well on Cam Newton's Panthers. I think he might work better on Derek Anderson's Panthers, to be honest with you. Cam Newton running. Jonathan Stewart is still there. He's going to take touches away. Cam Newton is going to run. That's going to take touches away. They don't throw to the running back historically. I mean, unless they're changing this entire offense. And I don't think they are. I just don't know how I feel about Christian McCaffrey there. Like I said, I like him a lot. And if he's going to be your running back, first, second, third down, I don't think he's that kind of player. But if he's going to be like the focal point of the offense, then yeah, you take him. He's great. He's going to be great. But I just think the focal point of that offense is going to be Cam Newton. Like it has been. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since Cam Newton arrived. So I don't to expect Christian McCaffrey to have this crazy season. I can't do it. Moving on, Dalvin Cook. Like I said about all of the reasons why you should avoid Latavius Murray, all the reasons why my stock in Dalvin Cook is rising through the roof. The only worry I have with Dalvin Cook is that the Minnesota Vikings line is like worse than trash. If there was a worse thing than trash, if trash was like melted down into a liquid, and then that liquid was formed into like candy wrappers, and then those candy wrappers were wrapped up around like rotting vegetables, and then thrown into the trash again. It would be like trash made of trash. That's what the Minnesota Vikings offensive line is. It's that bad. So I don't know how great I feel about Dalvin Cook running behind it, but as far as his role in that offense and as the running back, I think that he's uncontested at this point. He is the running back for the Minnesota Vikings. He's not 1A, 1B. He is one, the only one. So I like Dalvin Cook. He's a mid-round running back right now. I wouldn't be afraid to take him at all. I think he's the locked and loaded running back in Minnesota. Stock rising on my next person is Joe Williams. My stock is rising on him again. For all the same reasons I said why Carlos Hyde I'm avoiding are the same reasons why my stock is rising on Joe Williams. All that stuff about Carlos Hyde and the fact that Joe Williams is going super late. If you can get him as like a flyer as your 5th running back, why not take Joe Williams? Because you have a potential starting running back on your bench that you used, I don't know, your 10th round or 11th or 12th round pick on. I'm taking Joe Williams in a lot of late round as a late round pick a lot of times in some of these mocks, because I think anyone who has the potential upside of being a starting running back, even on a crappy team like the 49ers, if you can get him that late in drafts, it's worth it. Moving on, Joe Mixon. I wrote down here my stock is about the same because the whole backfield is up in the air in Cincinnati. I think Joe Mixon will be the starter. I just don't know when that'll happen. Is he going to start the season on the bench behind I can't remember the names of Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard? I think he's already above Giovanni Bernard. Like, Giovanni Bernard he's third string now. It goes Jeremy Hill, Joe Mixon. So, but when does he overtake Jeremy Hill? Because Joe Mixon, with full control of that backfield, stud. Complete stud. It's just a matter of when he gets that control. And I'm super confident Joe Williams will eventually get that control earlier in the season. I'm not sure when Joe Mixon will. But my stock isn't falling on him because I wouldn't be surprised if he did get that role super early. I just don't know how the Cincinnati Bengals staff feels about their running back situation. If Jeremy Hill is their guy, or Joe Mixon plays a support role for the first year, or if Joe Mixon, it's trial by fire, they're just going to throw him to the wolves. You're the starting running back. Hopefully it's the second part, because if it is, then he's a stud. He's going to be a stud. And there's another thing, just to add on. Remember when I was talking about the trash made of trash that Minnesota Vikings offensive line is? Cincinnati Bengals, same way. It's trash made of trash. So, if he has the opportunity, I like Joe Mixon a lot. Even with the trash line. I don't know when the opportunity is coming. Moving on to the wide receivers on the rookie report, we have Mike Williams. My stock is plummeting in Mike Williams. Falling is not even an accurate word. It's plummeting. He's hurt. Especially for a rookie receiver, during one of the most important times for a rookie receiver and a quarterback to get on the same page, Mike Williams is going to miss all of preseason, all of training camp. And I don't even know if he's going to be healthy enough to start the season. I just don't know how you could take him at any decent spot right now without hesitation. You know what I mean? Like that, you have to hesitate on that because you haven't seen him play. He's missing all of this valuable time to get on the same page with Rivers, and that it's not like he's going to be the only receiver there. There are a bunch of receivers in on the Chargers right now. You got Keenan Allen coming back. Tyrell Williams was the top 20 receiver last year in fantasy football. You still have Travis Benjamin. You still have Dontrell Inman. So in a crowded wide receiving core with an injury, you can't get on the same page. You're going to miss all of preseason, all of training camp. Don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. My stock is plummeting in Mike Williams. Next on the list, Corey Davis. I put stock rising / about the same. So Corey Davis was probably, especially with Mike Williams down, was probably going to be the rookie wide receiver with the most fantasy relevance, in my mind. He was probably going to be the fantasy leader when it comes to rookie receivers this year. And reports out of camp are that he looks as expected. He looks just as good as they thought they were getting when they spent a high first-round pick on him. So I guess my stock is rising because the reports are good, but it's about the same because it was kind of what we expected. I just don't know how the Titans offense and what the target shares are going to be with the Titans. They're still a run-first team. Are they going to throw the ball a little more? Probably this year. But how much more? And with Eric Decker there now, with Corey Davis there now, they still have Delaney Walker. They still have the kid who used to play for the Dolphins, but now he plays for them, whose name I can't remember, who was their leading receiver last year. He's still there. I think they drafted Tywan Taylor, too. I just don't know how those targets play out. But my stock is still high on Corey Davis. I just don't know how much it's actually rising. And I think his draft stock is pretty fair where he's going. I don't have his ADP in front of me, but if I remember correctly, I think it's pretty fair. Moving on, Cooper Kupp is my next guy on the list. Cooper Kupp, my stock is rising in him. I think he's the number one wide receiver on the depth chart in LA. Granted, that offense is bad, so I think if you have the right ceiling in mind for Cooper Kupp, that you can be happy with what you get out of him in fantasy football this year. I'm expecting more of a PPR relevant player out of Cooper Kupp than a standard league. I don't think the Rams offense in general is going to score a ton of touchdowns. I definitely don't think this rookie receiver is going to score a lot. So could he potentially be the guy who gets the most receptions? Could he lead the Rams in receptions this year? I think so. I don't see why not. It's not like Tavon Austin has ever been a receptions monster, you know what I mean? So maybe Cooper Kupp is the guy. Maybe he turns into a binky for whoever the starting quarterback is on the Rams. The reports out of Rams training camp, ever since Cooper Kupp was drafted, it was that he is expected to be the number one wide receiver on the Rams depth chart, and I think he's going practically undrafted, to be honest with you. Maybe late in the draft. So, I like Cooper Kupp as a value. There are probably people around him that you could take that are better with more experience, but I think Cooper Kupp will lead the Rams in receiving and receptions this year. Bold take, I guess. Moving on, my next person is John Ross for the Bengals. He's hurt, so my stock is falling because I think it is important. I said it like 13 times now that if you're a rookie, you don't miss this time in training camp to get on the same page with your starting quarterback. And right now, John Ross is not playing in training camp. That's not good. It gives other receivers on that team, granted they might not be the high draft pick that John Ross was, but it gives other receivers on that team a chance to step into a role where Andy Dalton gets comfortable with them and not throwing the ball to John Ross. So my stock is falling strictly based on the fact that he's hurt right now. And I think his ADP will actually go down because of this. So maybe his value, he won't be overvalued because I think his ADP will go down because he's hurt. But that's to be seen. And moving on, my final person in the rookie report is a receiver that some of you might not know. I think he's going completely undrafted. His name is Kenny Galladay. He plays for the Lions. And I think he's going to take over the Anquan Boldin role in that offense. All reports out of Lions training camp is that he's looked pretty good. He's been getting extra work in with Stafford. He wants to take that role. He's on the fast track to take the Anquan Boldin role. And Anquan Boldin, I think, was pretty fantasy relevant. Not super fantasy relevant, but fantasy relevant enough to where this guy going undrafted might be worth keeping an eye on. I don't know if he's really worth picking up, if he's worth taking at the end of the draft or whatever. Anquan Boldin had 8 touchdowns last year, 8 receiving touchdowns. So if Kenny Golladay is going to come in and fill the red zone target role on that offense, I'll keep my eye on him. I'll definitely keep my eye on him. This is a stock rising on Kenny Golladay, not to tell you to draft him, but to tell you just remember Kenny Galladay's name. If he starts, becoming Matt Stafford's favorite target, you heard it here first, and you'll be the first one to the waiver wire when you see Kenny Golladay going off. So yeah, my stock is rising on Kenny Golladay. I still don't think he's worth a draft pick, but he is worth your eye. So that's it for the rookie report. We're going to move on to the last point. Alright guys, we're going to get into the mock draft now. We are drafting in the 7th slot. I think I said 11th earlier, but it's the 7th. Drafting in the 7th slot in a PPR league. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a kicker, and a defense. 6 bench slots. And it is a snake draft, obviously. Let's see what we got here. So, off the board, we have David Johnson, Lev Bell, Antonio Brown, Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott has started to slide a tiny bit. I did a mock draft earlier. He was the 6th pick. This one, he's the 4th. So, you're starting to see the slide. He hasn't been suspended yet, but he will be suspended. It's a matter of time. So right now we have the 7th pick. On the board is... The only people off the board right now are the 3 big running backs, David Johnson, Lev Bell, Zeke, and the 3 big wide receivers, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, and Julio Jones. So we just missed on the big 3 in each position. So I tend to go running back over wide receiver in the first round because of position scarcity. I think there are a lot of good wide receivers. I think there are very few stud running backs. To me, the best one on the board right now is LaShawn McCoy. So we are going to take LaShawn McCoy with pick 7, round 1. It comes back to us. After I took LaShawn McCoy, Mike Evans went the 8th pick, AJ Green went the 9th pick, Jordy Nelson went the 10th pick, Melvin Gordon went the 11th, DeMarco Murray went the 12th, Devonta Freeman went the 1st pick of the 2nd round, Jay Ajayi went the 2nd pick of the 2nd round, then T.Y. Hilton and Michael Thomas went at the 3 and the 4, Jordan Howard went 5th, we're up with the 6th pick. It is a PPR league. Remember that, some of these names. On the board, we have the best running backs available: Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, Lamar Miller, Isaiah Crowell. The best wide receivers available: Dez Bryant, Doug Baldwin, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Demaryius Thomas, Brandon Cooks. Everyone sleeps on Doug Baldwin. I really like him, but he likes to slide a lot in drafts. I'm actually going to take Amari Cooper here. I think that's the best thing. I don't know how much I trust Dez this year. I don't. I think the Cowboys have a pretty tough schedule. I don't know what we get. It's still a run-first team. Maybe with Zeke, I don't know. That's up in the air. I think Amari Cooper is just a safer pick here. Let's see. After Amari Cooper, Nuke went, Aaron Rodgers at the 2-8. It's ridiculous. Todd Gurley went in the 9th pick of the 2nd round. Dez Bryant went 10. There goes Doug Baldwin at 11. So he didn't slide really that much. and Gronk at the end of the second round, which is, I like that pick kind of. Leonard Fournette to start the third round, Brandon Cooks 3-2, Sammy Watkins 3-3, Travis Kelce 3-4, Allen Robinson and Demaryius Thomas 3-5 and 3-6 just seems really high to me. On the board, we have Lamar Miller, Isaiah Crowell, Christian McCaffrey, Ty Montgomery, Marshawn Lynch. For running backs and for wide receivers, we have Keenan Allen, Alshon Jeffrey, Golden Tate, Devontae Adams. It's a PPR league. Wide receivers score more points than running backs do, but there is the running back fall off here. I think I'm going to take a wide receiver still, though. I'm going to take Keenan Allen. After I took Keenan Allen, Lamar Miller went, Christian McCaffrey went. Christian McCaffrey is going around, like, this is a PPR league, so he's going a little higher than he normally would. But so he's going, in this draft, for example, he went the 3-9. I just don't know if he's going to be... I just don't know how much I trust that offense. I don't know. For the 3-9, I don't know. Golden Tate went 3-10, Terrell Pryor 3-11, Devontae Adams 3-12. Alshon Jeffrey started off the fourth round at pick 1. Jordan Reed at the 4-2. Isaiah Crowell at 4-3, Crabtree at 4-4, Jarvis Landry at 4-5. On the board right now, picking in the middle here is tough because I just don't know who's going to be around when it comes back to me. Right now, Larry Fitz is up there, and this is a PPR league, and doesn't get much better from a PPR standpoint than Larry Fitz. He did lead the league in receptions last year. I'm going to take Larry Fitzgerald to bolster this receiving core, and I'm really hoping a running back will be there when it gets back to me. After I took Larry Fitz, Joe Mixon went, Marshawn Lynch, then Tom Brady, Ty Montgomery, and Danny Woodhead. That kind of hurts because I was hoping Danny Woodhead would fall back. Then Drew Brees, Julian Edelman went, then Greg Olsen and Jimmy Graham, Martavis Bryant, Carlos Hyde, Emmanuel Sanders, and back to me. We got to grab a running back here. Because we need a running back so bad, I just don't know. The best running backs available, Bilal Powell, Mark Ingram, Spencer Ware, CJ Anderson. All those guys aren't great, but Dalvin Cook is there, and I don't care if it's a reach. I'm going to take him because we need another running back, and I think he's a starter. So we got Dalvin Cook, Tyreek Hill went then, who I would have loved to take if I didn't absolutely need a running back right there. Mark Ingram's gone, Stefon Diggs is gone, Jamison Crowder, all guys who I would have loved to take if I didn't need a running back really badly. Kyle Rudolph, Willie Snead, Brandon Marshall, Spencer Ware, Pierre Garçon, Dante Moncrief. This is kind of proof that it's almost smarter to go running back, the first two picks. Because all these guys, Tyreek Hill, Stefon Diggs, Jamison Crowder, Willie Snead, Pierre Garçon, in a PPR league, all those guys are super viable to grab later instead of Dalvin Cook. I like them all a lot more than what the pick I just made, but I needed a running back because I decided to go running back wide receiver there. But it's back to us again. And the best running back on the board is still Bilal Powell. So we're going to go receiver because I'm not interested in that. And Jeremy Maclin is there. And Calvin Benjamin, Deshaun Jackson, Eric Decker, John Brown. Jeremy Maclin seems to be the pick here. They're trying to say I could get him way later. but I'm going to take him now. No, I'm going to take... So we have our starting three wide receivers. We have Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Larry Fitz. We need a flex. Yeah, Jeremy Maclin is just the guy I like. I don't really care if it's a reach. So we took Jeremy Maclin, which I'm sure is a reach by their standard. Bilal Powell at running back, then Tevin Coleman, Cameron Meredith, Mike Gillislee, Tyler Eifert, Kelvin Benjamin, Delaney Walker, Matt Ryan, John Brown, Deshaun Jackson, Corey Davis, Russell Wilson. I want another running back. I'm going to take C.J. Anderson because I think he's the starter there. I know a lot of people are talking about Jamal Charles, but he's hurt. He's always hurt. And I think C.J. Anderson is the starter on a team that likes to try to run the ball. I'm going to take C.J. Anderson. See what's there when it gets back to us. Quarterbacks coming off the board heavy right now. Andrew Luck went, Cam Newton, Marcus Mariota, Martellus Bennett went, Frank Gore, then Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, and then tight end with Zach Ertz, Jack Doyle, and Hunter Henry. Let's see. We want to go wide receiver again. You know, I still see a lot of wide receivers I like. I'm going to go running back again just to really make sure I have what I need at running back. So we have our two starters, LaShawn McCoy and Dalvin Cook. We have four wide receivers. No, we're going to go wide receiver. I'm going to go... It's a PPR league, so I'm going to go... No, I am going to go running back. I'm going to go Amir Abdullah. He's starting. He's in a... Offense likes to throw to the running back. He can be our fourth running back. Just because between C.J. Anderson, Amir Abdullah, and Dalvin Cook, I should be able to get a decent week somewhere to put next to LaShawn McCoy. After Amir Abdullah, Eric Ebron went, Eddie Lacy, Devontae Parker, Kirk Cousins went, Corey Coleman, Randall Cobb, Eric Decker, then Adrian Peterson, Paul Perkins, Theo Riddick, Tyrell Williams, and Duke Johnson. I'm glad I took Amir Abdullah. We're going to go back to wide receiver. And we're going to take Adam Thielen. We want Adam Thielen or Kenny Britt? Who do you think? It's a PPR. I think I want Kenny Britt. I think he's the lead receiver for the Browns. I don't think either offense scares you between the Vikings and the Browns, but I'll take the lead guy. After Kenny Britt, Doug Martin went, who I was really looking at, but I didn't know if I wanted to take another running back, because if I have enough running backs on my roster where I could sit Doug Martin until he comes back and not really be afraid of what it cost me, I thought about it. It seriously crossed my mind. But after Kenny Britt, Doug Martin went, then James White, Terrence West, who's a good sleeper now that, especially now that Kenneth Dixon is done. He's gonna start rising, but you can still get him later in drafts. Then we got LeGarrette Blount off the board. Then Adam Thielen, Jordan Matthews, Quincy Enunwa, who in a PPR league is probably a good sleeper because he's the only receiver there. Samaje P. Ryan went, then CJ Prosise and Derrick Henry. So yeah, I mean you're really in the weeds with running back right now. We're gonna keep going wide receiver. Mike Wallace is there. Rashard Matthews, the guy I couldn't remember earlier. Marvin Jones, Robert Woods, Ted Ginn, Kevin White, Sterling Shepard. I think out of all the names I just read, I would rather have Sterling Shepard. So that's who we're going to go with. Sterling Shepard. Who's there at tight end? I don't usually take a tight end. Yeah. I don't usually take a tight end this early because at this point I might as well just wait. Kobe Fleener is not worth taking right now. He's the best outside of Jason Witten and CJ Fedorowicz, Cameron Brate. These are all guys I can wait on. I'm going to take a quarterback, but I think I feel good filling in a couple more bench slots. So, Sterling Shepard, welcome to the squad, boy. We got, after Sterling Shepard, Kareem Hunt went, O.J. Howard, Rashard Matthews, Jamal Williams, Mike Wallace, Robert Kelly, Marvin Jones, Giovanni Bernard, Jonathan Stewart, DeQuiz Rogers, Evan Ingram, Kobe Fleener. I'm going to go back again. And I'm going to take... I think I'm going to take Cole Beasley. No, this is way too early for Cole Beasley. I saw a running back I wanted. I think I'm just going to take him. God, you know what, guys? I really don't like this team. I think I fucked up going Amari Cooper second pick. I'm looking at wide receivers down here, and I just don't like any of them. Same with running backs. Well, I'll take a flyer on Kevin White, I guess. The number one receiver for the Bears if he's healthy. I guess we take flyers on these guys at this point. Just guys we can hope complete boom busts. I have one more bench slot, quarterback, tight end, kicker. I'm going to take Alvin Kamara because it's my last bench slot. And I like him in a PPR. I want to take Matt. Do I want Dak Prescott or Matt Stafford? What do you guys think? I'm going to take... I think Dak Prescott's schedule is really... Don't the Dallas Cowboys have a really crazy schedule this year? I'm going to take Matt Stafford. I just like him. I have him ranked higher. And tight end... I don't know. Let's see who we got left here. I'm going to take... Charlie Clay from Buffalo. At this point, it's just a defense and a kicker. So let's take the Rams defense. And Adam Vinatieri. They hate our team. It's not shocking. I don't even know if I like our team. This is why you mock draft, because halfway through this draft I realized that we messed up taking Amari Cooper with the second pick instead of taking a running back again. Because the wide receivers that were there when I had to take Dalvin Cook were way better. Or the wide receivers that were there, yeah. When I had to take Dalvin Cook instead, it almost hurt me how much more I liked them instead of taking Dalvin Cook there. So this is why you mock draft. You try things out new and see how they work, and if you like the team that you get or not. And I didn't like the team I got. That's it, though, guys. That is the full fantasy field goal. It's late. I'm tired, and I have work in the morning. So thank you all for listening. I will put out the information for the fantasy field goal fantasy league. It's a best ball league. That'll be out this week. Maybe I'll put the info out on the regular BS Nerds podcast. Go listen to the BS Nerds. Rate, review, subscribe. Go listen to WECP. Listen to Dave Speaks whenever the hell he puts it out. Draftwizard.fantasypros.com. Go there. Practice your drafts. Fake mock draft. Do all your mocks. Mock as often as you can. Try out things that you wouldn't normally do and see how they work out. Maybe you like your team better. Maybe you hate your team like I do with this team. This god-awful team that I drafted. Don't make the same mistakes I did. And then try and fix it with bad receivers. But anyway, thanks for listening, and may all your balls hit fairways and greens.
Then I'll leave it alone. Leave